Good evening and welcome to Reporting Scotland. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who died this morning just 2 months short of his 100th birthday, is being mourned today across the world, but he had a particularly close association with Scotland, dating back to his school days in the 1930s. He and the Queen have enjoyed precious family times at Balmoral every autumn for many decades. And Prince Philip was also an engaged, straight-talking and occasionally mischievous Chancellor of Edinburgh University for 57 years. The First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has sent her personal condolences and those of the government and the people of Scotland to the Queen and her family. Our first report comes from our political editor, Glenn Campbell.
At Holyrood Palace, the lion rampant is lowered, as the city that has long shared its name with the Duke of Edinburgh takes in the news, posted on the palace gates, that His Royal Highness has died 2 months short of his 100th birthday.
I do feel incredibly sad. I think it would be a great loss, and he was a real character.
The Prince has been around for 99 years and has been at the Queen's side the entire time. So it's a huge loss to the country, especially given his long service.
In Ballater on Royal Deeside, some remember a prince they met in person.
We're walking in Ballacabooey Forest and this black Range Rover came up and the Duke got out and was fixing something at the side of the road. He must have been 94.
A character that we can all identify with. Yeah, sad. And I feel so sorry for the dear Queen.
The First Minister, who's often accompanied the Duke and the Queen to events in Scotland, like the opening of the Borders Railway, reflects on a huge loss for the royal family.
First and foremost, he was a husband, a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, and my thoughts are with all of those today who will be feeling a profound sense of loss and grief. In particular, the Queen. He was her husband of 74 years, and I think we can all imagine just how devastated she will be at his loss.
Across the road from the Royal Palace at Holyrood, the Scottish Parliament's flags are also at half-mast, in the middle of an election campaign which has been suspended as a mark of respect.
We want to be spending this time reflecting on the life of the Duke of Edinburgh and sending our condolences to Her Majesty the Queen and indeed the entire royal family.
Prince Philip loved Scotland. He had a great affection for Scotland, holidaying obviously at Balmoral, but here at Gordonstoun is where he started off his education and he retained strong links here.
From his school days to big national moments like the opening of the Scottish Parliament, the Duke of Edinburgh's association with Scotland was lifelong.
In many ways it's the end of an era. Of course the Queen continues as monarch, but it's very difficult to think about the Queen without the Duke being right beside her.
On behalf of the Catholic Church, the Bishop of Aberdeen, Hugh Gilbert, offered prayers and celebrated a long, full life dedicated to public service.
I think one of the things a lot of people pick up on, and we certainly in the Central Mosque, where we perform a lot of marriages, is the stability of married life. I think that's a big takeaway from the Prince's life.
The royal couple were regular attenders of the Highland Games when they summered at Balmoral.
I think Prince Philip loved Aberdeenshire because of the peace and quiet, and indeed the outdoors. A man who was an accomplished sportsman. He loved attending the Braemar Gathering, the Ballater Games. I think he loved the competitive nature of Highland Games.
In Glasgow, more memories and reflections.
Absolutely gutted. I honestly thought that he was going to get to the 100. I think a lot of people actually wished that he was going to get to that 100, and gutted for the Queen.
I did the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme, and that is something very positive he's gave to the community.
And from Inverness,
you kind of felt that it was coming, but it was still a bit of a shock at the same time when you heard about it.
Yeah, it was just like a shame you didn't make it to like 100. Like it was so close to like his 100th, and he was like a pillar of like the royal family and like quite an icon.
More tributes will be paid at Holyrood on Monday when Parliament is recalled to remember a remarkable prince. Glenn Campbell, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Prince Philip's long association with Scotland started with his school days as a boarder at Gordonston and continued over many decades of engagement here. Rebecca Curran looks back on the life of the Duke of Edinburgh.
Philip Mountbatten's Scottish connection started at boarding school at Gordonston near Elgin, a time when he thrived on the rugged outdoor life, a time that was to prove character forming.
He was a really exemplary student, outstanding in every way at school. And we also know that he was a man who showed real leadership potential, and that part of his being admired by students and staff was a real example of how he would go on to become someone that other people looked up to throughout his life. We get a real flavour from these photographs of the young man he was, and I think of the extraordinary man that he went on to become.
By the time he left school to embark on a naval career, he'd become a self-reliant, self-assured individual. He courted and captivated the young Princess Elizabeth.
The happiness of the princess at being with her fiancé for the occasion was evident.
Weeks before their wedding, a crowd of 40,000 endured the rain in Clydebank to see the young couple at the launch of the liner Coronia.
I am so happy that on this, my third visit, my future husband is by my side.
In November 1947, a new wife and a new title. On the eve of their marriage, the King decided Philip would be known as the Duke of Edinburgh. Freedom of the city followed, prompting a moment of nostalgia.
I would like to discharge a debt of gratitude to the citizens of Edinburgh for your hospitality to myself and to thousands of other servicemen who managed to get here for a few hours' relaxation during the war. I was based at Rosyth for 2 years, and I know that whenever we had the chance, we used to jump into the train at Inverkeithing and come here. I know we were a dreadful nuisance and frequently misbehaved. But as a result of your forbearance, we all have a very tender spot for the Berg, as we sometimes used to call it.
This new bond led to numerous visits to the city. Taking the job title seriously, he was an early supporter of the Edinburgh Festival.
Science will never produce anything to rival the thrill of the live theatre or the atmosphere of a concert hall filled with great music.
Public duties and appearances drew affectionate crowds, but visits to Scotland also offered precious private family times. And Balmoral was a welcome refuge in the summers after the Queen ascended the throne in 1952, a place the royal couple could play with their children and enjoy a degree of normality that was normally denied them, and film the fun for themselves. The young Duke maintained his own passion for sport, always happy if duty involved participation in sport, as on a visit to Shetland in 1953. And in what many regard as his greatest legacy, he established the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme. In the decades since, thousands of young people have volunteered, camped, taken up hobbies and learned new skills in the quest of the Gold Certificate, presenting the awards an annual ritual at Holyrood.
He very much led the informality of the day by his demeanour, which was always incredibly positive. He was very keen to hear about the real stories from them, the real experiences they had, the real life-changing experiences from them. And the only way he could reach that was, of course, making them feel comfortable.
As a qualified pilot, the Duke was comfortable flying himself to engagements all over the country.
He flew 40 miles across the Lammermuirs to Stobbs near Hawick.
Although it wasn't always the most elegant way to arrive. The Duke was a supporter of Scottish industry, innovators and institutions. Organisers of his official visits knew he would come informed and prepared. They had to be on their toes.
He could be frightening at first experience because he was not a soft touch. He'd come back at you. Why do you say that? What do you mean by that? Actually, he was saying, tell me more. You needed to have the confidence to come back. If you were sure of yourself and of your facts, you came back to him and you established a wonderful relationship that he knew he was dealing with someone who A, he could trust, and B, whose company he would enjoy.
But with his interest came the gaffes and bluntness for which he became renowned. In 1963, the Duke opened a new car plant at Linwood.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to declare this, whatever it is, open.
Press the button.
There were more unwelcome headlines when he referred to the Fife town of Methil as a dump. Years later, he tried to explain away the unintended slight.
If you were anchored out there on a day like this, and you looked at what were the docks, and that's about all you could see. When somebody said, I talked to them, they said they came from Methil. I had to say, well, what a terrible place to have to live. But I have never been to Methil, so that was a long time ago. Well, the authority vested in me.
Unpredictable, straight-talking, and he clearly enjoyed an argument, as Edinburgh University discovered just before this ceremony when the Duke, as Chancellor, conferred an honorary degree on the controversial American economist Alan Greenspan.
He liked a certain amount of student wildness. As we were approaching, he saw a group of student demonstrators and he immediately peeled out of the procession to go and talk to them. And we couldn't stop him. And he had then had quite a good argument with the students about Alan Greenspan and why it was right that the university should honour him, and then rejoined the procession.
Carriage driving replaced polo as a passion. Both brought him to Scotland. Both drew out his fiercely competitive nature.
Go on, you stupid hole! Get on! Go on!
Yeah, I would say he was a bad loser. Incredibly competitive. He was impatient as well. He certainly got annoyed if something went wrong. He got even more annoyed if he made a mistake himself.
Patron, president, a member of almost 800 organisations, inevitably the time came to cut back on his commitments. A month before his 96th birthday, the Duke announced he would be stepping down from public life. Weeks later, he was back in Scotland for some of his final royal engagements. Presenting his Gold Awards in person for the last time and accompanying the Queen on her engagements, including the annual garden party at Holyrood.
The Duke of Edinburgh was completely devoted to the Queen, as indeed she was to him. And he has given her the guidance, the companionship, the leadership, the advice, everything that she would want in her role, her most difficult role as Queen.
He was very much his own man, and although he did support her very well and very impressively and very effectively for a very long time, he had his own role as well in the life of the nation.
Whatever he felt about his own role, it was one he played in full for decades. Decades of public engagements, royal visits, official openings, charitable events. The world's longest-serving consort. For the Duke of Edinburgh, duty always came first.
For more than half a century, the Duke of Edinburgh was Chancellor of the University of Edinburgh. By all accounts, it was a role he embraced with vigour. Morag Kinneborough reports.
Through the McEwen Hall of Edinburgh University, the Duke of Edinburgh walks in solemn procession to the rostrum.
Installed as Chancellor, November 1953.
This short function is perhaps the most important of the many the Duke attends during his visit to the city, from which he takes his ducal title.
I'm naturally delighted with this new position and perhaps a little bit flattered.
Prince Philip had not been a university student himself, saying he'd graduated in the Navy.
If I cannot claim a Scottish university, I can at least claim a Scottish school.
Next to receive an honorary degree is Sir Alexander Fleming, the discoverer of penicillin, and one of the most distinguished scientists in the world today.
His sense of humour was infamous.
In education, if in nothing else, the Scotsman knows what is best for him. Indeed, only a Scotsman can really survive a Scottish education.
Edinburgh students have their own irreverent way, with perforated paper, tomatoes and what have you, of greeting the rector they themselves elected. And the presence of royalty is not considered a reason for turning it down.
From the early days, he seemed to embrace controversy.
The times are bad and this is an ignorant generation.
He was reminiscing with me about riotous installations of the rector with students throwing flower and doing all sorts of things, and asked me when the next one was. And I said I would let him know. The administration and other colleagues said, mustn't tell him, but I felt honour bound to. He immediately, despite attempts from the special branch and other people, insisted that he came along, obviously hoping for some uproar. In the event, it was quite mild, and he remonstrated with me afterwards that I had made it too orderly.
His passion for education endured throughout his 6 decades as Chancellor.
His direct engagement with the university was real. He's not just a symbolic figure on a letterhead somewhere. He was actually here. He was part of the university, meeting people, opening new facilities. I think it's a very important positive engagement. Chancellors can sometimes not be terribly engaged with the actual function of a university, but in his case, he was very engaged and for a very long period.
His interests spanned many disciplines. He was especially keen on science, technology and engineering.
What sticks with me from the day was the kind of importance the Duke put on having extracurricular distractions alongside a busy academic schedule. When you're meeting someone of that stature, you know, a royal, you think they may not have an interest or appreciation for the kind of nitty-gritty grassroots football, but he certainly seemed to appreciate competition of any nature.
I think for a university like this, that's really a historic beacon of Scotland's excellence in education. I think to have somebody with that international prominence is really significant, and so to have that association, I think, is a source of great pride to the University of Edinburgh.
Maura Kinniburgh looking back at the Duke's long association with the University of Edinburgh. Let's reflect now on the day with our reporters at Balmoral and the Palace of Holyrood House. In a moment we'll speak to David Cowan in Edinburgh, but first let's go to Aberdeenshire and David Shanks. David, Balmoral really was a place where the Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen could enjoy, revel in their privacy.
Absolutely. Balmoral was a place where the Duke of Edinburgh was said to be able to enjoy moments of peace in the landscape of Royal Deeside. The Queen and Prince Philip spent nearly every summer here for decades, and as such, locals today spoke very fondly of their famous royal neighbours, even telling us anecdotes about bumping into Prince Philip as he walked in the nearby countryside. Now, as you say, this is a place where they could enjoy some much-needed privacy, some quality time with the family. Their neighbours here on Royal Deeside held them in great affection, but also felt a sense of protectiveness over the royal family. Now, today at Balmoral, some have laid flowers at the gates of the estate, but other organisations to which the Duke of Edinburgh lent his support have also paid tribute. Braemar Mountain Rescue, where he was patron since 1966, and the Braemar Gathering, where he was often the guest of honour, along with Her Majesty the Queen. Now, the royals' affection for this part of the world is certainly reciprocated, and the Duke of Edinburgh's loss will be keenly felt here.
David Cowan in Edinburgh now. Balmoral, very much the private refuge, David, but the Palace of Holyrood House, the centre of the public lives of the Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen.
Yes, well, it's the Queen's official residence in Scotland, and as a result, the Duke of Edinburgh spent a great deal of time here for Royal Week every summer, for the annual garden parties, for Duke of Edinburgh's awards ceremonies, and he left his mark here as well. There's a row of very carefully spaced trees in front of the palace, and there's one that's completely out of sync with the rest, and apparently that's because Prince Philip planted it to block his view of the Scottish Parliament across the road because he didn't like the building. You know, he was a man of strong opinions, a man many people had strong opinions about, and there's no shortage of stories about his time in Scotland. In the early 1970s, for example, when the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown was student rector at Edinburgh University, he'd faced a great deal of opposition from senior staff, and he said the one person who gave him enormous support was the Chancellor, Prince Philip, who saw the need for change. His greatest contribution to Scottish life, though, was as consort to the Queen, a role he performed for decades. In 1964, for example, he was at her side when she officially opened the Forth Road Bridge. In 2017, he was at her side when she officially opened its replacement, the Queensferry Crossing. There's another story in connection with the bridge. Before it was opened, he visited the construction site, and the engineer who was showing him around was told, "Whatever you do, don't walk slowly and don't talk to him like he's an old man." At the time, Prince Philip was 95.
David Cowan at the Palace of Holyrood House in Edinburgh and David Shanks at Balmoral, thank you very much. And as we heard earlier, one Edinburgh event that was particularly dear to Prince Philip was the annual ceremony of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, the charity he founded in 1956 to equip and empower young people from all communities to make the most out of life. Earlier, I asked Peter Moyer, who organises the 3,000-strong event at the Palace of Holyrood House every July, how Prince Philip used to tackle a very big day for the young award winners and their families.
I was always amazed how brilliantly the Duke of Edinburgh did when he came to the award ceremony. He came to over 60 awards in Holyrood Palace. And when he met the young people, he really took a great interest in what they had done. He would ask them really insightful questions, and he'd be listening really well. And he gave some humorous responses back to the young people from the responses that he got. And quite often when he was speaking to the adults and the parents of the young people, he would engage really well with them, and there'd be a real connection with all the kind of people who are attending the Duke of Edinburgh Awards at Holyrood.
And this was something he took a keen personal interest in. He founded the Duke of Edinburgh Award in way back in the 1950s, and he retained that sort of personal interest.
Yeah, he was very passionate about the award. When he asked young people at the award ceremonies about what they'd done for their volunteering, he was very keen to hear about what the young people had done to develop their communities or challenge some of the kind of issues around the world. And when it came to the expedition side of things, he was really passionate to kind of find out where young people had been. Quite often he'd been to those places, but the real thing he was interested in was what the young people had learned about the environment and nature and how they were going to take that forward and looking after, Scotland and the world's countryside. You mentioned his sense of humour. He was good at undercutting the formality of these occasions, wasn't he? Yeah, he had a lovely way with them. Quite often, when people came to these situations, they were coming in a bit of awe, coming to a kind of royal palace and meeting somebody from the royal family. And very quickly, he set them at ease to kind of be very comfortable. And it was lovely to kind of hear the kind of laughter that would come from the different groups around the Holyrood Palace. And quite often that would be him kind of engaging with the young people, telling stories and asking some quite interesting questions of the young people. And what did you make of the Duke of Edinburgh yourself? You'll have seen him for a few years on these occasions. What was your feeling about him? I thought he was a very passionate man who cared a lot about young people particularly, and the whole nature of what the Duke of Edinburgh Award is something that's very unique in Scotland and the UK, where young people are empowered to be able to kind of do things for themselves. And I think that very essence of what the Duke of Edinburgh Award is about is something that in some ways was way before its time. It's very kind of similar to what Curriculum for Excellence is about, but we were doing that in the Duke of Edinburgh way before those kind of educational aspects were kind of brought in. It's a fine legacy for any man, is it not? A sad day for you at the Duke of Edinburgh Award, but as you look to the future, how do you sense that you'll be able to build on the legacy and on what the Duke of Edinburgh has personally given to you all? I think we're in a fantastic situation in Scotland to kind of build on the kind of legacy that we've developed. There's, before the pandemic, 23.5% of all 14-year-olds in Scotland were doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award. We have over 30,000 young people in Scotland doing the Duke of Edinburgh Award right now in Scotland. And I think we're at a kind of stage where coming out of a pandemic, the young people across Scotland are really could benefit a huge amount from participating in the Duke of Edinburgh Award, to get that chance to engage with their peers and engage in experiential learning, which is something that they've missed, for the last year. So I'm really excited about how the DAV can be very much a solution as we kind of go forward in the recovery from the COVID pandemic.
Peter Moore, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's see now what the weather is up to today. Here's Cossar.
Hello, good evening. Well, for most of us today, it was another day that was cold with some showers and some sunshine too. Now, this was a scene sent in from one of our weather watchers in Perth and Kinross, where we did see some good spells of sunshine, with the bulk of the showers today again across more northern areas. And some of these showers have been heavy and wintry, bringing some slight accumulations up over the hills and mountains. If we take a look at the day's radar and satellite imagery, you can see where those showers have been most frequent, especially across the north. Across the south too, we did see a few showers for a time, and as we head into the evening, there will be some late spells of sunshine across more southern areas, but across the north, those showers continue to be heavy and frequent, and where they're falling and temperatures fall too, where we can expect the chance of some icy stretches and untreated roads and surfaces. In fact, across the whole of the country, it will be a very cold night, colder than recent nights, with temperatures widely below freezing, down to -2 to maybe -4 or -5 Celsius. So it will be a chilly start to the day tomorrow, and another icy, frosty one too. There will be further showers to start the day tomorrow, mainly concentrated across the north, but during the course of the day, we'll see more of these showers spreading further south as well, becoming concentrated across parts of the southeast too. So for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, well, we can expect those showers pretty much anywhere across the country, and 1 or 2 of these will be heavy at times. Again, slight accumulations up over the hills and mountains. There will be sunny spells in between the showers. The wind's still northerly, not as strong as they have been, but still feeling quite chilly in that wind. Temperatures only really reaching around 3 or 4 Celsius for many. Now, if you are planning any outdoor activities locally, well, we can expect further heavy wintry showers up over the northern ranges, especially so for the northwest highlands. Temperatures at summit level around -3 Celsius, and it will be quite windy as well. For southern ranges, though, more in the way of sunny spells during the course of the morning, but also showers here too by the afternoon. And it's a similar story for the eastern ranges. We're expecting the heavier of those showers across more northern parts. For southern ranges, there will be some sunshine in between, but it will be chilly for all. For tomorrow evening, a similar story. Again, those showers becoming a bit more accumulating at times across more southern areas into the evening, with some clearer spells in between. And then looking ahead to the second part of the weekend, high pressure ebbs further southwards, and we are expecting this weather front to arrive in that will bring some rain, sleet and snow later in the day, spreading in from the west. But for most of us, we're expecting some sunshine to start, and it remains quite chilly too. That's your forecast.
Thanks very much, Cossar. And that's all from Reporting Scotland for now, on the day that the death was announced of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, at the age of 99. We'll be back with more at the slightly later time of 10:45 p.m. A special tribute programme follows next here on BBC One Scotland. But from me, for now, goodbye.